Hi guys, it's Mark Zickery, Mr. Sci-Fi, also known as Mark Zickery of Space Command, and we are active and on the march. The first 2 hours of Space Command is on Amazon and Google Play. Please go there, rent or buy, rate it, review it. My new book, Love Gloria, is on Amazon. It's a memoir about my mom. Buy it, rate it, review it, love it. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. And for those who actually rent Space Command and watch it, if you let me know, I can send you a Space Command digital membership package, which is pretty cool, I must tell you. So, meantime, yesterday I went to the Paperback Collectibles show, which was quite terrific. But before I forget, if you want to buy Space Command shares, they're $7,500 each. You get a portion of my producer's net profits. Email me at markzickery@gmail.com. I'll tell you all about it, and it's a really super cool thing where you can be part of Space Command and come on set and all that stuff. It's really neat. So, but I digress. Yesterday I went to the Paperback Collectibles show, which is really terrific because it's focused on paperbacks. And whereas at antiquarian book fairs, it might cost you hundreds or thousands of dollars to buy a hardcover book, at the Paperback fair you can get really cool stuff for just a few dollars. And that's just really amazing. So this is my book haul, which I'm going to share with you. This is in my Hay on Wye carry bag. Hay on Wye is the great bookstore town in Wales. That's the king of Hay on Wye. And I thought it would be appropriate to take that to the book fair. Now, one item I bought is going to be a surprise for a friend of mine. So I'm not going to tell you too specifically what it is, but let me just say, let's see. It's a big, hefty hardcover, because they do have some hardcovers at the book fair. And one thing I will say about this cool thing is many of us, of course, are fans of certain science fiction writers. And generally, what we don't know, or often people don't know, is that many science fiction writers, because it paid so badly back in the day, or just because they were interested in other subjects, many science fiction writers also wrote prolifically in mystery and in westerns and in you name it. And sometimes it'd be under a pseudonym, sometimes it'd be under their own name. But this is a book. A very famous science fiction writer wrote mysteries. Ray Bradbury was one of those too, by the way. Ray Bradbury, Frederick Brown, Henry Kuttner, on and on. And so this is a book of mysteries by a very famous science fiction writer that is not associated with mystery stories. So it's my friend is a fan of this writer, and I will send this to him, and he will, I'm sure, absolutely love it. So let's see what happens. But onward. Now, sometimes you find things that are normally hundreds of dollars on the internet, and you get them for a song. And this is one of my great finds at this book show. It's the first paperback edition of On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and I got it for a song. And it's a really wonderful book and very cool looking. That's Kerouac, if you've never seen what he looks like. And this is one of the great books of the Beat generation, the 1950s beatnik generation. That also includes Allen Ginsberg, many other folks, and very cool. I did not have this in my collection. Now, most of what I buy, of course, is science fiction. This is a cool thing. Many of you know of the great Forrest J. Ackerman, the original Mr. Sci-Fi, who I have named myself after as a loving tribute. Forrest was an amazing guy. He was, among many other things, he was the editor of Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine, which had a huge effect on many of the writers and directors at work today. Steven Spielberg, Joe Dante, on and on. And but briefly, for a brief time, he started a companion magazine to Famous Monsters of Filmland, and it was called Spacemen magazine. And it only ran a very few issues, and I have several of them, but I did not have this one. And now I do. And it's very, very, very cool. I'll show you some of the cool things. Now, it was less money because it has what's called a detached cover, which means the covers come loose. But here's some of the cool stuff in it. First of all, it says, "Look to the future," and this spaceman is actually Andrew Folds, who starred as Jet Morgan in Journey into Space, a wonderful British radio show that I've shared with you here on Mr. Sci-Fi. And and he talks about a movie based on a science fiction novel by my friend Norman Corwin, and this movie never got made. You find that often these projected projects did not get made. They'd be in development. Here's again photos from Crater Mass in the Pit, a great live TV show in Britain, and also a great movie. It came out here in, I think, under the title 6 Million Miles to Earth. And then there below is the cast of Journey into Space, looking much more earthbound, but definitely dramatic. Definitely dramatic. And because even though radio shows were on radio, they would often get the cast together to take publicity photos kind of in tone with the radio show. And so many a time, and the cast of Journey into Space really does look like the characters they're playing. And so that is a plus, definitely a plus. And so there's that, okay? And we'll put that back in here. And another thing that was very well known about Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine and Spacemen were the wonderful things you could buy via the ads. For instance, wow, 22-foot parachute, genuine U.S. Air Force surplus, or Venus flytrap. And where do you get ads like that nowadays, I ask you? Let's see what else is in here. This was very, very cool. You know, one of my favorite shows is For All Mankind, which my friend Ron Moore is the showrunner and co-creator of. And the basic premise of that show is, what if the Russians had landed on the moon first? Well, this is a science fiction magazine from the 50s that posits that exact same moment. And so I thought that'd be very, very cool to get a hold of. So there's that. Now, let's see, what else do we have in here? Now, here's a cool thing. And again, the thing I love, see, this is where the internet can never be as good as going to something in person. Because in the internet, either you're looking for something specific that you know you want or interested in, or the algorithm guesses what you might be interested in and sends it to you. But when you go to a book show, you find things that you did not know existed that are really, 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 really cool. So one of these book dealers was selling photos from when he used to attend science fiction conventions in the 1970s. And this is a photo of an actor who soon would become world famous, and is to this day, but this is before the movie came out, so he's just an aspiring young actor promoting a film that none of the attendees at this convention might have heard of, and that is a very young, very sweet-looking Mark Hamill promoting Star Wars before it ever came out. So very, very, very cool. And, you know, and again, and someday I'll probably, you know, go to a signing of Mark Hamill's and have him sign this, because I think this is definitely iconic. So what else do we have here? Here's another cool thing. This is Silver Star. Now, this is a replica of a comic book done in Australia in the 50s. And there was an artist named Stanley Pitt, who was a very, very talented man, and he created, essentially, a knockoff of Alex Raymond's Flash Gordon, and his style is very similar to Alex Raymond's, and so he created this character called Silver Star. He's called Silver Star because he has silver hair, you may notice, but he's quite a wonderful artist. He also did a syndicated newspaper version of The Demolished Man that I'm going to talk about sometime soon, called Gully Foyle, that never really hit the American market. But he had high hopes for it. But again, it's just really nicely drawn and really kind of fun. Spaceships, robots, the whole 9 yards. And wasn't terribly expensive, so I grabbed it, and it's kind of like, oh, let's check this thing out. Because, you know, it's got its own specific flavor that I rather am charmed by. So there's that. And then we'll get to the next wonderful, wonderful thing. But again, you never know what you're going to find. And I only recently found out about this artist and the Demolished Man project because a page of that artwork is being auctioned from the estate of my late pal, Greg Jean. So, yes, time does what it does. So, okay, let's see what also we have here. Let me continue to dig in the bag and see what else we've got. Now, one thing that guides me when I'm buying at book shows is something that I've never seen before, or something that's a rarity. And there was one book dealer who'd come from England, from the UK, and he had all these wonderful UK editions of 1950s science fiction. And so I bought ton of these. So look at the, and they have a different flavor from American paperbacks of that era, and just they're delightful. So this is World at Bay by E.C. Tubb. And it says, unleashed atomic fire threatens to engulf a harassed world. Harassed world, that's rather funny. Okay, so that's The World at Bay. Now, here's another British paperback, The World at Bay, but not the same book. Science fiction by Paul Capon, almost certainly a pseudonym. Down they came, weird beings from another planet, while the Earth trembled on the brink of disaster. And there's spaceships and two people looking extremely alarmed, which is very, very charming. And again, these covers are well painted, you know, really, really fun. And, you know, these are from the 50s and 60s. Now, here is a book I'm going to give to a friend of mine. It's British again, Returned Tomorrow by L. Ron Hubbard. And you may, of course, recognize that name because Hubbard, of course, was ultimately the founder of Scientology. But before that, he was a very famous pulp writer with a huge output. And this is one of those novels from that era. So very cool, from 1957. Then here is... Now, another thing they would do in the British paperbacks is sometimes they would use a cover from an American paperback. Let's see if I have this here. I may. It's not right at hand, but trust me. So they would use a really cool illustration from an American paperback, but use it on a different book. So this has a great cover by Ed Emshwiller. It's A.E. Van Vogt's Mission to the Stars. This is the British edition. And this cover was actually used on City by Clifford Simak, the paper book first edition of that. So it's very eye-catching, very cool, but I guess they felt that, you know, robots and destroyed buildings, that would cover a lot of real estate. So here's another great cover, great book. This is Second Foundation by Isaac Asimov, and this is the first UK edition. And you know, very, 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 very cool. So I can't say enough about that. Neat space guy and all of that. So and then here's another really good cover, After World's End by Jack Williamson. Now, Jack Williamson lived to be into his 90s, and he was still writing at the end of his life, so he had a career that I think spanned over 70 years as a writer. He had been writing all the way back from the 20s or maybe even the teens, and there you go, that guy. And then here is a very cool cover of The Space Merchants by Frederick Pohl and C.M. Kornbluth. Again, these are classic science fiction writers, and one of their classic novels. And again, this has a red star on that spaceship, so I'll have to read the book and see if that's a commie spaceship. We will find out. But it's super fun, super fun. Then on to, oh yeah, now here's the final. I think this is the final book of British paperback I bought. Now Hugo Gernsback, the fellow who the Hugo Awards are named after, is the founder, one of the founders of modern science fiction. He published a number of magazines of science and so forth, popular science, popular mechanics, and started publishing science fiction and founded Amazing Stories in the 1920s. And he wrote one science fiction novel that I know of, which is Ralph 124C41 plus, which is 124C41, you know, get it? And this is his, this is the first British paperback publication of this book, and it was published in paperback in, let's see, 1952, and it wasn't published in paperback in America until 1958, so this came years before, and supposedly it's not a very good book, but it's certainly a charming cover and a piece of science fiction history. Now then I've got an American copy of this book, which is this is very, very fun. Again, often they would rename. The hardcover book would come out with one title, and then they'd want something a little more snazzy or lurid for the paperback edition. And these were ace doubles, and that would be supposedly two novels. Usually they were two novellas in one, and you could get them for like 35 cents, and it was a great deal. They published mysteries as well, and westerns too, I think. So this, on one side, it is An Earth Gone Mad by Roger D. Was This the End of Mankind? Cool. And And then on the other side, and this is a very fun illustration, this guy's floating above these two people. I was like, what's the deal? And it's The Rebellious Stars by Isaac Asimov. This was actually published as The Stars Like Dust, and they retitled it The Rebellious Stars. Very cool, very fun. And then let's see what else we have here. What other things? Okay, this is a book by a friend of mine. William F. Nolan co-wrote Logan's Run with my friend George Clayton Johnson. Bill Nolan passed away last year, I believe, and but Bill was an incredibly charming and articulate and passionate man, and he was friends with all that circle of Charles Beaumont writers, John Tomerlin and George Clayton Johnson, and on and on and on, Matheson. And so when I wrote The Twilight Zone Companion in my early 20s, William F. Nolan was a font of information and advice, and just terrific. So he was a wonderful guy, and so he created a science fiction detective. Bill Nolan was a huge fan of mysteries and science fiction. He wrote a biography of Dashiell Hammett at one point, and so he took Dashiell Hammett's detective Sam Spade, and he did a riff on that called Sam Space, and wrote a series of science fiction short stories about Sam Space. So this is one of those books collecting those stories, and you can see it's a pretty fun little cover. Look out for space. So very, very fun. And then finally, the last book of my book haul, and I did this all in a matter of a few hours yesterday. And also many of these books, whatever their prices were, the book dealer would say, well, it's half price, move to, price to move. So a $9 book would be $4.50, etc. So this was very nice. This is the British hardcover of Mutant by Henry Kuttner. It's just a very striking book, not expensive, and here's the description. From the radioactive cities which survived the great blow-up sprang the race of mutants, hated by normal human beings, not only because they were hairless with egg-like skulls and lashless eyes, but also because they were endowed with strange telepathic powers. Mutant is the story of their struggle to be accepted by the world around them, a stirring tale of heroism and treachery. Very, very fun. And now Henry Kuttner was one of the great science fiction writers and editors. He was married to C.L. Moore, Henry Kuttner and C.L. Moore. I believe they wrote together under the pseudonym Louis Paget. But yet another wonderful addition to my collection, and very dynamic. And so that's the book haul. There's the empty bag, and here's a pile of treasures that I have acquired that I am very, very glad to have. And welcome to my wonderful world of science fiction. So lots more to talk about very, very soon. If there are any actors particularly that you love from science fiction shows that you'd like me to cast in Space Command and the other shows I'm doing, let me know, because I have people that I know and grew up with, but I can always look to new and cool people. So that's about it for now. We will talk again really soon. And again, remember, if you want to buy Space Command shares, markzickery@gmail.com. If you want to rent or buy Space Command on Amazon or Google Play, or rate it on Rotten Tomatoes, please do. Love Gloria's up there, too, as my latest book. That's about it for now, guys. Thank you so much, and very eager to share with you much to come in the near future. You take care. Talk soon. Bye.